Hey there, this video was originally recorded for the Redmond Chamber of Commerce on July 30th, 2024. But if you're a small business owner, no matter where you are, especially if you serve local customers, I guarantee you, you're going to get something out of this video. So please enjoy the replay of this lunch and learn. Also, my phone overheated, so the other camera angle is not available. My bad. So sorry about that. But anyway, this looks a lot cleaner because you can just see the screen. So I hope you enjoy. Good morning, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about your small businesses SEO success. But before we get started, let's start with a little, I've been hanging out with my yoga friend and my life coach friend earlier today at Team Referral Network. They're always making me think about visualizing stuff, like visualizing that water or whatever that is, hand sanitizer jumping off of the table there. But I want us to all visualize something here. So if you will, just go ahead and humor me. Let's just close your eyes and think about what's one thing that your business needs right now. So let's think about that. What's one thing that your business needs right now? And since everybody has their eyes closed, I'm going to ask a question, and you won't be judged because nobody will be able to see, but raise your hand if you could use a little bit more business. And if it makes you feel any better, my hand's up right now. Like if you could use a little bit more business, would that help out? Okay, so everybody put your hands down and then open your eyes. And so just so you know, about 90% of you raised your hand. So luckily, that's what we're going to be talking about today, but in an indirect way as we talk about SEO. What are we going to be talking about? So we're going to be talking about what SEO is. So this is it's mostly a beginner's topic. So that way, if you don't know anything about SEO, don't worry, you're in the right place. This will be helpful to you. But we're going to work our way up to some of the actual tasks that we might want to do. And so if you've already started to work on SEO, then this will also be helpful for you, and I'll definitely point you in the right direction. So we're going to be answering questions like, what is SEO? Why should you care about SEO? Why is it important? And then what should you do next? Because fortunately, I can't shove all of my SEO knowledge into one 40-minute topic. Sorry, Josh. Now, before we get started, I have a quick little disclaimer to let you know that I do not work for Google. I do not know what the algorithm is. And by the way, nobody that works as an SEO knows that. And so anybody that tries to tell you this is what the algorithm says is lying to you. And so I'm going to just start off with that disclaimer. I'm just giving you the stuff that I've learned from my experience. I also never promise anybody that I can get them to rank #1, and anybody that does that is probably either lying to you or using a scammy tactic. And we're going to have times for questions later on. So if you have any questions, any burning desires, don't worry, there'll be time for that. However, if you have a question that's related to what we're talking about, feel free to raise your hand. I can still kind of see you in the dark. And so let me know if you have a question for the topic at hand, but we'll have plenty of time for questions later on. So let's get started by answering the million-dollar question, what the fork is SEO? So SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. Those first two letters stand for search engine. But let's be real, over 90% of online searches go through Google. And just like me and my new friend Sloan were talking about earlier, that market share is probably going to get chipped away by AI tools, but so far Google has held tight this far into the year. And so when we're talking about SEO, we're pretty much talking about Google. Their algorithm is what everybody else, Bing, DuckDuckGo, or any other search engine out there is trying to copy, okay? So we're talking about Google. Now the last letter is O for optimization, but I like to think that's a misnomer. There's a better word for it, and it's manipulation, but people don't like that word because it has a negative connotation. So instead, we're going to say influencing. The whole goal of SEO is to influence Google to show us up higher than our competition. Why? Because we want to take them down. I mean, just kidding, because we offer a better service and we want to get more business, right? As we talked about earlier, right? The point of SEO is to rank higher, okay? That's what we're talking about in that last slide. We want to influence the search engine, primarily Google, to show us higher than our competition. Now, before we move on and we talk about how the heck do we do that, who the fork is Sam? Why are you even listening to this guy right now, the guy with the pineapple shirt over here? Well, I'm the founder of Then Can Designs, which is a lean and mean SEO agency out in Bend, Oregon. Everybody always asks me, what the heck does Then Can mean? And then can is the root word for thoughtful. When I first started this company, it was a web design company. I wanted to make thoughtful websites for my clients, and also the domain was available, so that's why I went with it. And as I've pivoted to focusing more and more on SEO, I want to get thoughtful results for my clients. I've either worked with or have consulted with dozens of small businesses all across the country, even have clients over on the Atlantic Ocean, which is pretty crazy to think about. And I have a small team of mostly subcontractors, and 80% of them are located in Bend. So we're talking about a team in Central Oregon, so not a whole bunch of people all over the world. Now, my primary core value is service. I love helping people, and I just happen to be doing that right now by helping small businesses with their SEO. I love teaching as well, and so I have a little YouTube channel. It's not very big, but I teach small business owners how to DIY their SEO. And so if you want to learn more about this, towards the end, I'll point you in the direction of that YouTube channel. I don't think we're going to get over 1,000 subscribers today. I was hoping we'd have 400 people here, but you know, we almost got there. So I love doing that. And a new endeavor of mine, I just launched a couple months ago. We're in the early stages now. We got about 15 people in there right now. But I started this thing called Local SEO Academy. This is not relevant to pretty much anybody in this room, but what I'm doing is I'm actually teaching other service providers how to do SEO. And so that's really cool because I've had a couple of the really early adopters go from knowing the basics of SEO to being able to offer that service to their clients. And so if you're going to listen to an SEO talk, you know, you can listen to one of the talking heads on YouTube that hasn't done SEO in a long time, or you could talk to somebody that spends their day either working on their client's SEO, teaching somebody on their team how to do SEO, or talking to one of their students on how to do their client's SEO. I figure, hey, maybe I'm a good guy to listen to. So let's keep going. How does SEO work? In comes this graph. What did I say earlier a couple slides ago? The point of SEO is to rank higher. The reason for that is because the higher we rank, the more views we'll get on Google. Everybody's seen a search engine result page. We're going to talk about that in a second. You type something in, firearm training, Redmond, Oregon, hopefully, you know, Liberation's up there really high. The number one result gets about 30% of the clicks. The number two result gets about 20% of the clicks. The number three result gets about 10% of the clicks. And once you get to the second page, you're getting less than 1% of the clicks. So the higher you rank, the more people will see you. And then once they see you, that makes them more likely to click onto your website, and that's considered traffic, right? Once people are on your website, that's traffic. Now, what we want to do once they're on the site is we want them to turn into a lead. For most small businesses, this is in the form of like a contact form submission or a phone call. And so we want to get as many leads as possible, and then that will lead to more clients, which that was the question I asked us at the start. Would we all like some more business for our businesses? Of course we would, right? Now, some of you more astute people might know that along this buyer journey, sometimes we could get bad leads, right? They're not qualified or whatever. And if we have an issue with our website where we're not actually getting leads, like this could break in a lot of places. But just generally speaking, this is the SEO equation. If we rank higher, we'll get more views on Google, which will lead to more traffic, which will lead to more leads, which will close into clients, customers, patients, students, whatever you call it. That's what we all want, right? Now, question for you. How many people out here offer a service for their business? All right. Now, keep your hand up if you offer more than one service. All right. So that's still quite a few of us. Now, you don't just have to try to rank for one of your services. You can try to rank for your other service. And if you have another service, or if you can service, say, Bend and Redmond, you can do the same thing for another thing. Now, the peaks might not always be the same, right? But hopefully you're starting to see the equation. This is how SEO can kind of multiply your efforts. And if you've ever heard me at a networking event before talk about more TLC, traffic, leads, and clients, this is what I'm talking about. And so the more, they're called keywords, and we'll get back to that later, but the more keywords we can rank higher for, we don't need to go crazy about it, we want to be selective, we'll get more views, which will lead to more traffic, more leads, more clients. That's the SEO equation. That's how it works. So remember, if you remember nothing else from this lecture, it is that the point of SEO is to rank higher. But let's see some SEO results before we go any farther. So this gal owns a salon out in Charlotte, North Carolina, and that's all I'll say. So you can't see the graph before this. Hopefully you can see my hand over here in the dark, over in Zoom land. But this chart right here are views on Google. It's not as impressive to show you her ranking chart, so this is just know this is daily views on Google. So this 160, she's got 160 people seeing her on Google on that day. The chart's going like this in the past, and you might be wondering, why is that happening? Well, she had somebody on Fiverr redo her website, and they didn't pay attention to the SEO basics. And I'm not saying everybody on Fiverr doesn't know how to build good websites. I've actually met people that make really good websites on Fiverr. But you have to be really careful about some of the basic SEO principles, because if you don't do that, what you'll see is your Google views can go down, right? It's like the reverse of the chart here, right? If each thing starts to unravel, we'll see bad results downstream. So anyway, we start working together at point number 1 right here. And as you can see, we start to see her Google views start to go up. I highlighted this number right here because between here and here, all we were doing was SEO, and we'll talk about what that means in a second. But we actually didn't launch a new website until right here, and you can see we started to see some results after we launched a new website. So this is kind of a case study to show you that you don't necessarily need to start over or build a new website to start seeing results for SEO. Taking some simple actions will start to see some results. However, Google rewards activity over time. That's kind of a shorter graph. I wanted to show you a longer graph. And so this was a client that's actually local. They relocated to Bend, and we launched their site. And you can see they had almost no online presence. This is pretty common for newer businesses or businesses that are relocating, maybe starting with a new domain, something like that. So only 12 views per day on Google. And over time, as we're working on their SEO with their new website, you can see it really starting to uptick. And if you're wondering what the heck happened right here, they were actually starting to show up third for their primary keyword, up against some top dogs in their industry. But instead of talking about these spikes on the graph, which I know you guys are probably already getting bored about, I want to tell you about what was actually happening with this business as we go along this graph. Right here, we have an empty shop. Well, there's one project that's probably valued at a couple $100. And he was not super stoked about having to pay money for SEO services per month, but he said, I need to do something. So screw it, I'm going to take a chance. I checked back in 3 months later, the shop's full. He's hired a helper. Okay, we decided to keep going. I checked back in a month later, now he's got 2 helpers, shop's still full. Somewhere around here, he hires an office admin, and around here, he's starting to look at a bigger shop space. So these are some of the results that I've seen from doing SEO with clients, and you don't necessarily need to work with an agency to get SEO results like that for your business. But I want to mention that SEO isn't everything. There's a lot of different digital marketing tactics. There's also analog marketing tactics, right? Showing up to Coffee Clatter, billboards, getting carrier pigeons. These are all viable marketing strategies. Maybe not that last one, but when it comes to the online world, there's a good chance, especially if you have a low ticket offer, that you just need to build up an Instagram following, right? My friend Shar probably gets a lot of business from Facebook and Instagram, would be my guess. That's the way her business works. However, even if you have found other things that work, there is a certain sector of businesses where I feel like SEO should be considered no matter what. Now, SEO is a broad term. There's actually different flavors of SEO. I don't want to talk about all of them, but I want to talk about 2. National SEO versus local SEO. If you go home and you start looking up SEO videos on YouTube, they're typically talking about national SEO because it's just cooler to talk about because you get more results, and there has historically been a lot more money involved in national SEO. And so the one example that I could think of beforehand is I have a web design coach. And when I was looking up stuff about web design in the early days of my journeys, I was asking questions. What's the right page builder to use for WordPress? And there would be this blog post from this guy named Josh Hall talking about the different types of web page builders. And he would recommend Divi, which was his favorite. And oh, surprise, surprise, he has an affiliate link for it, right? But anyway, eventually I got into his little marketing funnel and ended up signing up for his courses in his community. He's actually a really nice guy, but he was playing the national SEO game because he wasn't just trying to work with clients in his area of Ohio, he wanted to work with clients really all over the world. But local SEO is a little bit different. So local SEO is when you're trying to do SEO in a specific geographic region. Now, this is the more general question here. Raise your hand if you can work with local customers, all right? Can anybody not? Okay, I think I see everybody's hands. Okay, now raise your hands. Now put your hands down if you can. Okay, I'm gonna ask a new question. Raise your hand if you can only work with local clients, all right? So that's good to know. So everybody that just raised their hand, local SEO is really the only version of SEO that you should be worried about. Now everybody else, me included, will have to do some sort of a blended strategy between the two. But even though you can serve clients outside of your local area, that doesn't mean you shouldn't be focusing on your local SEO. Now, that is my specialty. So that's what the majority of the rest of this lecture is going to be talking about. So just know that that's kind of where we're headed. But even if you can serve clients outside of this area, you definitely want to be trying to target those clients in your area, especially because I believe that's a good place to really grow a business, are the ones in your area, because it's nice because you can sit and have coffee with them as opposed to having to get everything set up by Zoom. So anyway, question?
Can I have your, sorry, Sam. Okay, carry on. I'll give it back to you in a second.
I got a question about the local.
Question in the back.
So wouldn't it, like a lot of things, your local SEO help you generate even more nationally? Like I can see stories being able to go across all those lines, right? Like taking a story in today's world of like a client going through a process with me is gold to me, because there's little pieces you could just pick out. But wouldn't it like help you build a larger presence nationally if you have a strong local presence first?
So the question is, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just repeating it for the microphones. If you can build a strong local base, wouldn't that help you nationally? Absolutely. And you know, the specific example you were saying is if you could work with a local client and maybe build up a case study off of that, could that help at a national level? Absolutely. And that really goes more to like the national SEO strategy, right? How are we attracting those clients at a national level? It's probably things like blog posts or using other avenues, right? We're thinking of maybe social media or content through something like YouTube. So those are ways that we could attract that national SEO audience. But yeah, to get the local clients, the calculus is a little bit different, the strategies that we're gonna go after, and we'll talk about that here in just a sec. But certainly having a local base is gonna help you build up to a stronger base beyond that. So let's hit some SEO definitions so we're all on the same plane before we talk more about what's important for local SEO. And don't worry, I won't be talking for too long, and we'll open it up for more general questions here in a little bit. First one I wanted to hit are keywords. So you guys know what these are, even if you don't know what these are. When you type something into Google, that's a keyword. I like to say it's the words that people use on their way to finding your business. And you really want to figure these out. You have to do keyword research. I almost thought about doing an interactive portion where I'd show you how to do that, but I figured let's save that for something more advanced. And also on my YouTube channel, I have a couple videos where I actually show you how to do that for free. And so I encourage you to check those out. But basically, especially for local businesses, it's typically something like service near me, service, city, state, or city service. You know, Redmond mortgage lender, broker, whatever. Now, the next word I want you all to know is the search engine result page, sometimes abbreviated SERP. If you've used Google anytime in the last 20 years, you've seen this, right? As soon as you hit the enter button, this is what pops up. It changes a lot. Specifically, we're gonna talk about the SERP as it pertains to local SEO. If you ask Google a question right now, usually this first chunk will actually be what's called an AI overview. Luckily, when it comes to local, that's not really happening so much. It's been pretty safe. And in a second, we're gonna talk about the different pieces of the SERP. By the way, if you want to see this lecture at the end, I'm going to give you a link so you can download the PDF, so that way you don't have to take pictures of this grainy wall. Now, one thing I want you to know about the SERP is that it changes depending on what you put in as the keyword. So even if you just search something like Bend web design or web designer near me, it seems really similar, especially if you're in Bend, but it will show different results. Also, the device you use. If you use your computer versus your phone, you'll see different results. The location, if we search in Redmond versus Bend, or even like the west side of Bend versus the east side of Bend, you can see drastically different results. And I have one client that thinks that the weather might have something to do with it. So every time it rains, I'm thinking, what's Google up to? That's a joke. I'm glad that Barb laughed. Yeah, that has nothing to do with it. So I don't know the search engine algorithm, but I'm going to guess that that has nothing to do with it. Unless you're doing weather searches, of course. So let's talk about that SERP just a little bit more. So there's a couple pieces. At the top always are ads. Google makes $175 billion, that was with a B, per year on ads just in search. And so they're going to get their money. And so that's the thing that shows up at the top of all the search results. Now, just so you know, people have this phenomenon called ad blindness, where they typically skip the ads at the top. If they see that little sponsored result right there, they say, nope, don't care, and they keep going. Only about 2% of ads get clicked on. And we'll see what the click rate looks like as we go down the page. So just know that not a lot of people are clicking on this. However, it can still be helpful, but this is not SEO. We don't do ads in SEO land. Some SEOs do it because it's part of the digital marketing strategy, but just know, like, I don't typically do ads. Sometimes I dabble, but it's not my specialty, and so that's not SEO. So this first thing is called local service ads. A lot of times it's called Google, people will call it Google guaranteed because of that check right there. See where it says Google guaranteed? But it's local service ads, and it's a pay per call service. This isn't for every industry. Pest control, that's an industry. Real estate agent, that's an industry. Web designer, not an industry. Okay, so there's like certain ones that qualify and certain ones that don't. So you may see this at the top, you may not. It's just an ad. Moving on. The next ad you'll see are the traditional sponsor results, PPC, pay per click. Surprisingly, you pay per click. That's why they named it that. And so that's the next thing that you'll see. So you can set this up. You got to make sure you're doing it right. There's a whole bunch of stuff. My complaint with ads is this. When you turn them on, you start to get leads if you do it right. But the second you stop paying for ads, it's like a faucet. You turn it off, the leads stop immediately. And the nice thing about SEO, the big con, is that it takes time, which is true. But once you see those results, go back to our friend in Bend over here with that nice up and to the right graph, right? Now that he's up here, if we stopped working tomorrow, he'd still be ranking third for that keyword. He might trend down a little bit over time as his competitors are working, but you get lasting results. That's what I like about SEO. Okay, so that's the paid stuff at the top. After that, typically the first organic result in local SEO is what I like to call the map pack. And this is the most coveted real estate. It's the top 3 results, and it usually shows up next to this map. If you've ever searched for barbers near me or oil change near me or something like that, you've seen something like this before, even coffee shop near me. You might see like Junction, blah, 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 right, if we did this right now live. So it's the top 3 results, and some studies have shown that up to 50% of searches either stop here or they click this little button to look at the other local results. This is the Google Business Profile, all right? We're going to talk more about Google Business Profile in a second. That's why it's so important for your local strategy. And if you're saying, Sam, there's a 4th one at the top, but yeah, that's sponsored. Okay, so you can pay to steal that first spot. Below that, if you've been on Google any time in the last 20 years, you've seen these. These are the blue links. And so this is your typical SEO results. So like we said, about half of people will still get down to this part of the search results. And again, 30% will click on number 1, 20% number 2, 10% number 3, and fewer than 1% will make it to page 2. And yes, pages are back on Google. If you've seen the infinite scroll it had for a while, but pages are back. So it's really important to try to show up as high as we can in the map pack and for the organic search results. So what's the most important things to think about for local SEO? Well, when it comes down to all SEO, there's really only 2 things to think about: relevancy and authority. Relevancy puts you on the right search pages. You have to tell Google that you do pest control in Redmond, Oregon, or they will not show you up. You have to tell Google that you're a business coach in Redmond. You have to tell Google what you're doing. This is the place where most people miss the mark. Now, once you're showing up on the right page, authority is what determines how high you rank. And I think I see a question.
Is that content in your website, or is that where are you telling it to do this?
Yes, good question. So the question was, where are you doing this? And I'm going to talk about that in a second. So let's save that, because otherwise I'll spoil the surprise. But yes, that's a good question. But the short answer is yes, content. Yeah. But and this is what I typically see with clients, especially in more competitive industries, like in this area, roofing, property management, things like that, is you get this right, but then you're still only ranking like 30th, 50th, 70th. And so that's not good enough, right? Nobody's going to see you down there. So you have to try to rank higher. And that's where the authority piece comes in. That's where it kind of gets messy. So how do we do this? And for the relevancy piece, you have to make sure that you get your Google Business Profile dialed in. And we'll talk about that here in a second. We're going to dive deeper on all these things. Your website, that's also the relevancy piece. And then when it comes to authority, we need to get Google reviews, and we'll talk about how to do that because there's kind of a specific strategy to doing that. And we want to get some local links. That's all I'm going to say right now. Trust me, we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I don't want to dive too deep in this initial talk. So just a quick fact check. This is a chart from Whitespark, which is a big digital marketing agency out in Canada. Every couple of years, they put out a survey to SEO experts, and they say, what do you guys think are the most important ranking factors? Because none of us know what the algorithm actually is, but from their experience, this is what they're seeing. And so if we zoom in to show up on the map pack, the most important things are the Google Business Profile, the website, and reviews. And to show up in the organic results, it's the website, those links that we'll talk about later, and the Google Business Profile. So that's really it. If somebody asks me, what are the 3 things that I got to do for local SEO? I'm going to tell you. It's the Google Business Profile, it's the website, and it's links. So let's talk more about that. Google Business Profile. If you've been doing your business for a while, you might have heard it called Google My Business. That was the old name of it. This is the fastest, easiest way to interact with your clients on the search engine result page because it's the first thing that shows up, typically. Not always. There's some exceptions to that, but that's usually the first thing that shows up. And by the way, it's totally free. So if you don't have a Google Business Profile for your business already, go home and get it. The first steps you want to do is you want to claim it, you want to set it up, and you want to verify it. Now, let's see if this thing works. This last step is harder than it sounds because they've switched to this video verification method, but I've helped dozens of people through the video verification process. Even if you work from home, Google's really loosened up the rules since COVID, so it's a lot easier to get your Google Business Profile verified than it used to be, and so make sure you have it set up. Once that's done, then you want to optimize your profile, all right? And really all that means is just filling out all the settings. And I have a 50-minute video on YouTube where I go through every single thing, so if you want to go back and do this on your own, you totally can. And then, remember, Google rewards activity over time, so you want to manage it. You want to do periodic updates. It's not Instagram. You don't have to do it every day, but maybe once a week, once every other week, you can just take the stuff you're already posting on your social media and repurpose it on your Google Business Profile. Occasionally add a photo, for the music school, you could just, take a picture of this instrument and then take a picture of that and then slowly build up kind of a database of these photos, especially for something with a physical location. It's really good to do that. And then there's a Q&A section where you can not only ask the question, but you can answer the questions. And so that way when your potential clients, customers, patients, students, whatever, are going onto that Google Business Profile, if they have questions, they're already answered for them. And then last but not least, we want to get reviews, but we don't just want to get a big spike of reviews and then never get reviews again. That actually looks really spammy and Google might reject the reviews, so don't do that. What we want to do is get this nice, steady stream of high quality reviews over time, all right? The more they can write, the better. If they can include photos, awesome, but we want to get more reviews on the Google Business Profile, and they make it pretty easy to send them a link so that they can do that as well. So that's the Google Business Profile. Now, what about the website? These are some of the things from the resource I was showing you earlier. And so the biggest thing, ignore everything else that's up here, but just know that it's really important to have a dedicated page for each one of your services. And also, it's not on this top list, but another one of the high ones is also potentially having pages related to each area that you service. And so when you having a well-structured website is super important, and it's also really important to make sure that you only target one keyword, and then I use the word cluster, per page. For instance, if you do keyword research for mobile massage, you might see mobile massage, or I don't know, there might be some different variations to it. Let me pick something else, like mortgage, broker, maybe mortgage lending. Those would still be in the same cluster, so we don't necessarily need to build separate pages for each one of those. We do one where we kind of target all those keywords that are similar. Hopefully that makes sense. But if you have another service that you offer, you build another page for that and potentially build one for Redmond and one for Ben. You don't want to go crazy. AI just penalized websites that were spinning up these giant AI generated sites, right? We don't want to do that. We want to be meticulous and careful and just build out exactly what we need. And then to really answer your question, Aaron, how do we do this? For the relevancy piece, we want to put keywords in the SEO. I like to call them hot spots. Now, I'm going to lose people here that don't do websites, so I'm not going to dig too deep on this, but I am going to actually show the SEO hotspots, and then I'm going to answer Sloan's question. And so I'm only going to highlight a couple of these things here right now because I don't want to lose anybody, but there are a couple sections on your website. So if you work on your own website, these are the sections you want to focus on the most. The SEO title is where you want to put your keyword. It's really important. The meta description is not a ranking factor, according to Google, but if we go all the way back to, I have to find a search engine result page, right here, this, the blue link, is your SEO title, and below that is the meta description. And so the meta description can influence how often people click through. Think of it like a sign on your storefront, right? We really want to encourage people to click. So that's why when we're looking at the SEO hotspots, the meta description, even though it's not a ranking factor, is important to pay attention to. And the H1 tag, which is usually the header at the very top of the page, should include your keyword. And I could talk a lot more about that, but I'm going to leave it right there. I saw a question in the back.
So is that when I just looked at the Google business page, so there's like a box, right? And you can type in, go to find a mortgage broker, find all those SEO little tips. That's the meta page is what you're talking about, where it's limits you to like 500 words or 500 characters or something like that.
Say that again? When you
That was a site where you had like a limitation to how many you could go into. You chose like mortgage or finance. And then down below, the meta was like a list you could put all the terms you were like trying to SEO optimize.
Keywords?
Yeah, like keywords.
Oh, yeah. So like, I think one thing that he's talking about, so on, I'm trying to think, okay, I guess I can pull this up here. So right now we're looking at the back end of my website right now. And there's a place, like this is WordPress, it doesn't really matter what you use, but for everything, there's gonna be a place to set the SEO title and potentially the meta description. Back in the day, there used to be, well, it's still there. There's a place to put keywords. I'm not even really sure where it is with my tool, but the keyword meta tag hasn't been used by Google since like 2008. And so a lot of tools like Go High Level, for instance, which Steph, just so you know, that's the white label version of what you use. They have a section in the back end that says keywords, and you can like stuff all these keywords. Google's ignored that for over 10 years. So we don't need to worry about that at all. And so, but they've come out and said that the SEO title is the most important thing. So for this one, I'm trying to rank for DIY SEO for small business. I just launched it, so it's not ranking yet. But if you look up something else like SEO Bend, Oregon, because I put local SEO company in Bend, Oregon, and also the reason why it's ranking so high is the authority piece at this point. That's why it's ranking so high. But you want to make sure that you get that. The SEO title is the first thing you want to get right.
I just learned how to do this on Wix, and it was like incredibly easy.
Yeah, it's actually pretty easy on most of the page builders like Wix, Squarespace, Webflow, GoDaddy, all those things. It's actually pretty easy to get there. And I usually recommend people, like, if you get stuck, like, you just need to look up, like, how do I get to the SEO title on Wix? And somebody will have a quick little video that will show you how to do it. Okay, so just a quick refresher. The three most important things are Google Business Profile, website, and building authority. So how do we build authority? That has to do with backlinks. Now, if you've ever done any kind of marketing, you might think that this is a bad word, and it kind of is, and you got to be careful with these things. So we're trekking into kind of advanced land right here, so bear with me. But really, all backlinks are when one website links to another website. Let me give you a practical example. For this event, this Lunch and Learn event, there's a link on Then Can Designs that links from the Chamber site to my website. That's a backlink. And for local SEO, that's actually a really good link to have because it's a locally relevant link. I'm getting a link from somebody in Redmond linking to my website. And so a long time ago, Google won the search engine wars because they realized that the more websites that point to your website, the better. Unfortunately, so did scammers. And so it used to be about quantity, but now it's about quality. And so really, for local SEO, you don't need a lot of links to point to your website. But by having a link from, say, Team Referral Network pointing to my website, that helps my SEO. And so these are things that you could think about even as a small business owner. What local associations are you a part of? What industry relevant links can you get? That's another important one. You know, are you part of any mortgage brokerage, associations or things like that that can point to your website? These are ways to build authority. There are a lot of other kind of messier, dirtier ways to do it, but I would recommend reaching out to me before you try to do any of those things. And if there's anything I can caution you against, is do not go on Fiverr or Upwork and try to buy backlinks. That does not work anymore. And actually, it will ding you in the eyes of Google, and it'll be harder to overcome that than any benefit you think you might have gained. So don't do that. So quick refresher, if you were to ask me, what should I do next? I would say, make sure you set up, optimize, and manage your Google Business Profile, and get a steady flow of high quality reviews to that Google Business Profile. Then build out and optimize pages for your money, that's supposed to say keywords. And so that would be like your services in your area. So for me, it was like SEO, Bend, Oregon. Web design, Bend, Oregon. But also web design, Redmond, Oregon, right? You can also target your other locations. And then as a small business owner, I'd recommend you look for a few natural local backlinks. And if you're still not ranking very high, then you might want to reach out for some help. Now, if there are any takeaways that you take away from this, how many times can I say take? The point of SEO is to rank higher. Don't forget the SEO formula, right? If you can rank higher, you will get more views on Google, which will lead to more traffic, more leads, and more clients. And the next time you hear me say more TLC at a coffee clatter, you'll know what the heck I'm talking about. Now, we're going to switch over to question mode here in a second. And when we switch over to question mode, I'm going to leave these up so you don't have to scan them yet. But on the left, just so you know what we have here, I put together a page recently that takes it's like the greatest hits from my YouTube channel, and it puts them kind of in the order that you would want to go through them, okay? And so if you want to dig deeper on SEO, I highly encourage you to check that page out on the left and just kind of bookmark it and go back to it later when you have some time to work on your own marketing. And if you're a fan of email newsletters, this is my email newsletter on the right. And it has over a month, over 75% of the people will read at least one email. So that makes me believe that people like what I'm writing. There's not a ton of people on the list, but they like, and it's 80 people, that's quite a lot, I think. But anyway, there's at least one SEO tip each week, and I'm trying to help people on their SEO journey there. And if at all you feel struck that maybe potentially you want to work with me, that says 9080, you can just text me, okay? Like, let's make this easy. So I'll put this back up here in a second, but I do want to open it up for questions, and I'm going to actually start with the most common question that I get, which is how long will it take to rank first? And so I think we can turn the lights back on. I'll leave this up for a little bit so you guys can scan it if you want to. So a lot of people will ask me, how long is it going to take before I rank first? And unfortunately, the answer is, it depends. And usually it depends on usually it depends on the amount of competition that you have in your industry. And so that can be really hard for me to explain unless I start to really dig around, but that is usually the most determining factor. Like, for instance, I worked with a health coach in Bend recently, and all we did was work on her website a little bit, and she went from not showing up at all to showing up on the first page. That's amazing, right? But there's not a lot of competition. And then another example would be like a roofing company that I've worked with in Bend. When we launched we refreshed their website, and they went from not showing up at all to showing up 50th. And it's like, okay, this is gonna take a little bit. And we've been working together now for about 3 months, and they're up around 20th. So they're around the bottom of the second page. Still not good enough. We wanna do more, but it's good to see that positive growth over time. And so the big question that people ask me is, how long is it going to take to rank first? And sometimes I tell them, hey, you may never rank first. Think about your industry. Are there juggernauts that are holding the top spots? You might not ever be able to pass those people, but guess what? Your customers, your clients, your patients, your students, they might not want to work with those people anyway. So the key is to just show up as high as we can. And that business that I showed way back, whose shop is taking off, for a long time, he wasn't ranking super high, but he was getting plenty of business because he was doing a better job than the big stores in town. And so he was able to kind of carve out his niche by doing that. So what other SEO questions do we have? Shar?
So I have a Google business profile that Sam helped me set up. He is incredible, so I highly recommend you message him right after this course. But I wanted to talk to you about managing your Google business profile and updating with pictures, Q&A. What type of value would that bring in? Would that kind of refresh, that position of map pack?
Yeah, so Shar's question after a glowing review for ThenCan Design's Google Business Profile Optimization Service for people in microphone land was, what's the value of managing the Google Business Profile over time? And I'm going to be frank with you guys. Studies show that humans don't really look at Google Business Profile updates. They do look at the photos, so that could be helpful, and they do tend to interact with the Q&As, but those updates, people don't look at them a lot. However, this is primary data for Google that they can crawl at any time. Me and Sloan, we were talking a lot about the AI changes that have happened with Google. During its I/O announcement a couple months ago, they talked about how they might be incorporating more of their proprietary local data into more customized search results. Well, guess what some of that proprietary local data is? It's the updates that you've been providing. And so what I like to look at the updates as are these ways to tell the algorithm, these are the services that I do, and here's where I do them. And so that's really all I do. And so I really follow like a pretty specific strategy with Google Business Profile updates where I just talk about all the services that I offer, and then I loop back around and I talk about all the services that I offer, and then I loop back around, and it's a little bit different each time, and I honestly use AI to generate those posts because I know humans probably aren't going to read them. And so I spend very little energy on those, but I do them. And that's will bring us back to this point, which is, Google rewards activity over time, whichever slide that was on. Yes.
So we are currently in a revamp of our website. So when you talked about having like a page dedicated to each service, that is not current to what our business model is now. So we were firearms training and then expanded into an indoor shooting range. So our website is getting completely revamped. My question is, would it hurt us now to update the SEOs when we don't really have a website that fully backs the services that we offer on the website right now? Or do I wait until the revamping of the website?
So this is
I
a lot.
want it to be like misleading to somebody who clicks on there and then they go to our website and we don't have that offered, or it doesn't look like we do until they walk into our building essentially. So would that be helpful or hurt?
Yeah. What I would do if I was working on the website and the SEO is with the current site, what I like to do is I like to build out kind of like the optimal sitemap of the website. I'd say these are all the pages that we should have. And if I see one that's missing, I would build it out on the current website. And so if you're shooting range, is that what it sounds like? Mm-hmm. So we would look for what are the words that people are searching for when they're looking for a shooting range, particularly in this area, right? Because we want to target local, which is probably something like shooting range, Redmond, Oregon. Yeah. And then I would build out, even if it's a super rough page, I would build something out in the current website. And then once you do the relaunch, one thing that you really have to be careful with whenever you're redesigning a website is you have to make sure, if you're not ranking for anything, then it doesn't matter. But if you are, then you've got to be careful because you want to make sure that every page that's ranking or has links pointing to it gets matched perfectly with the new website. That's really important. That's called the SEO migration, and it's really important that you do that well. And so right now, like let's say it takes another 2 or 3 months to finish the website refresh. In that 2 to 3 months, that shooting range page could already start to show up and start to rank higher. And then when it switches over, if it's an even better page, it's kind of like the example we showed earlier from the salon, it will see even more of an uptick. And so I would encourage you to build out, even if it's a bare bones AI generated text, stock photo page in the meantime. Aaron.
How important is a blog to you?
Okay, I am known as a blog hater, but that's only when it comes to local SEO, and let me explain. So I don't think a blog is the first strategy you should do. So when I was talking about the money pages earlier, I talk about that a lot more in some of my other content, but it's like the pages we were just talking about for liberation, right? They want to have their homepage, shooting range, firearm training, all that stuff built out, contact, about, team maybe, things like that, right? Once they've done all that, and then maybe also for some of the other locations, it's harder for brick and mortar, right? You really kind of just want to target your area. But once you've done that, then you could potentially consider working on blogs for 2 reasons. One, you can serve an audience outside of your local area. And Two would be as like, I like to call them supporting documents. They're like connective tissue documents. If you have a nice resource that you can provide to your potential clients and it will keep them on the page, then it's worthwhile of putting that as a blog post. But here's what a lot of SEO agencies do when they're doing local SEO is they make a blog post a deliverable. They say we're going to deliver 1 blog post or 2 blog posts or 4 blog posts or whatever per month, and that's how we're doing SEO. Here's the problem with that. Remember the equation, right? So this is the equation. Well, what they can do is by putting out all these blog posts, they're able to stack this up. And then they can report back to you, hey, look, we got all these views and we're getting all this traffic. But the graph's going to stop here. Because if you can only serve clients in your local area, then those blogs that were being, seen on Google and then read by people on the East Coast, they're not going to be able to work with you. But they're able to report back like, ooh, look at all these impressions and look at all these clicks we're getting you. So that's why I don't like blogs for local SEO. If you can serve clients outside of your area, that's a slightly different calculus, right? But there's a lot of things you can do before you want to start working on blogs. And then if you're going to do blogs, you want to do it carefully.
Sam, I have a question.
Yes.
Aren't most people absorbing content through video now? And how many people are actually reading blogs?
Yeah, so the question was how many people are reading blogs compared to stuff like video content or podcast. Yeah, and so that's another one of the reasons why I'm just not a huge blog fan. And so, if we go back to the digital marketing spiral earlier, there's so many other things out there, right? Maybe it would make sense for Gary to start a podcast about, business coaching, and that would be the way people learn about the entrepreneurial ear, right? Shar is probably going to do best with Instagram reels and motivating her clients and other potential coaches to get on with Optavia and be like, dump the Ozempic in the garbage and check out our program, and so yeah, there's other ways out there, and that's one of the reasons why. And I think honestly a really good strategy right now could be marrying blog posts with long form content like a YouTube video or a podcast. So that could be a winning calculation. And I've actually been trying that out because I have a lot of YouTube videos. So I've been taking the transcript, writing it through ChatGPT, cleaning it up, and then posting it. And so if you Google Squarespace SEO checklist, last time I looked it was on the 4th page, which isn't that good, but it's a national SEO keyword, so we'll see what happens. But you always got to experiment.
I have one back here. This is from the online from Abby Gorman. Not really a question, but I wanted to say that I have worked with Sam, and he not only is an expert but explains everything in a way that is easily digestible. His work on my SEO have pushed me to number 3, and I have gotten leads from clients who have Google Live Coach Redmond, Oregon. So, good job, Sam.
Thanks, Abby. Gary.
Isn't there some advantage, though, to doing a blog in terms of what Google is looking for? In other words, Google is looking for activity, are they not?
Right, and that's but see, that's the hard part, because Google rewards activity over time, so you think posting a blog would do that. But there's other things we can do that are A, easier, and B, might be more effective. And so even just doing things like refreshing our service pages, or what I like to do is doing competitor research. And so let's say, for instance, right now I'm actually in the process of refreshing my web design page because I was stuck around 6 for Bend Web Design. I was like, dang it, I want to rank higher. And so what I did is I went through and I audited all the competitors on the first page and the second page, and I said, okay, this is what they're putting for their SEO title, this is what they're putting for their meta description, this is their H1 tag. And then I looked at the pages. I said, what kind of content are they including? And then I go through and I change the content on my page, not necessarily to copy it. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there just copy what's on the top 10 results and you'll rank. That's not how it works. But anyway, I took that as inspiration. I said, what am I missing? What value can I add? And then once I did that, I started to rank lower. But now I'm 11th. But now I know what the next part of the equation is. I need to build authority. And so while it can be helpful to do that, I think Google is probably okay, they're up to something. That's why they moved me. And honestly, I don't mind going down sometimes because that means Google is recognizing that I'm doing a change. And so Google's like, okay, good, this is fresh. We like what you're doing, but we're not sure what you're up to. So I'm making you go down. Again, I'm just guessing, Josh. I don't know what Google's saying to me. But now I just need to build some more authority to that page, and hopefully that will help me rank up amongst the farewells and the other ones. So.
And building authority is linking to other reputable, other reputable sites.
Right, and it's
posting content, keeping things relevant.
Yeah, it's really about links coming to you. So linking out doesn't help you at all. It's not a bad idea to do, especially if you're citing a source, but it's more about getting links to you, which is not an easy task. And so that's why that's like that's a big part of doing SEO, is building that authority. Steph.
So the YouTube that you do
Yes.
is linking, well, you probably have it going both ways, right? So if you have it on your website, it's linking out. But if you have it on your YouTube that your website is there, it's linking back to you. Or is that, I'm trying to picture how I can do how I can do cross.
Yeah, so, Stephanie does yoga. She has an online yoga studio. And so what I would look for is industry relevant links. And so if there's any kind of yoga industry, like even if it's just like reviews, like if there's any sites where people collect like reviews, or it's like, honestly, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll look up, like first I would do keyword research to find the right word, but I'll do something like this. I'd look up online, you gotta learn how to spell, that's the first step, online yoga studio. And then I would go down, past the ads, right? And I'd start to look for the results that aren't actually businesses. I know it's harder to see right now because of the lights, but eventually you're going to see stuff like this. Okay, 7 best online yoga classes and studios, but it's from the New York Magazine. We're probably not going to get listed there. We keep scrolling, right? Eventually, we're going to get down to a listing, and we got to go through pages, but eventually we're going to get to something that we can get listed on for free. And you want to just keep doing this. And honestly, like this is the arduous, tedious part of building authority, is you might have to go through 100 search results and you might only end up with 4 directories to get posted on. But that would be a way to get authority. And I do have some videos where I talk about this in more detail on the YouTube channel. But yeah, linking from YouTube is not actually what I'm talking about. Yeah. One last question. All right, so you can't, that's a website, not the slideshow. One last thing here, which you're not going to be able to see because of the lights, but that's okay, is if anybody here or online right now, I did say there was going to be an offer, so this offer always stands. So if you're having trouble with your SEO, you can always get a free SEO video from me, and so I like to call it SEO checkup video. And so I give you the 3 next best actions for your SEO efforts. All you got to do is you can either scan the laptop if you can. If not, you can also just go to thencandesigns.com/RDM. And it'll go straight to a little form. Takes about 5 minutes to fill out, and I'll send you that video. It's not like an automated tool. I actually sit down and go through it. I spend like 10 to 15 minutes, but like I mentioned earlier, my primary core value is service, so I really like helping businesses out. So if I can help you out, I really encourage that. Oh wait, Evelina.
Really quick, you said that this presentation would be available. Are you going to email that to us and then we'll email it to everybody, or?
You can either, we can do that, or if you go to thencandesigns.com/lunch, you'll be able to download the PDF. Hey, just wanted to pop back in and say thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions or follow-up, be sure to leave them below in the comments. Be sure to like this video so more people can check it out. And also be sure to subscribe to the channel so that we don't miss the next video. Be sure to check out thencandesigns.com/DIY if you want to continue your DIY SEO journey. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I'll catch you in that one.